Part 13. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 121. Intuitive. Lester on the other end didn't notice anything wrong with Luogu, and just said, "You can't arrest people just by relying on intuition. Speaking of which, what I'm more curious about is what kind of guy can cause trouble your attention." "A very strong person," Luogu said in an uncertain tone. "How strong?" "I don't know, I haven't fought against each other before." Luogu smiled, then thought for a moment, and then said, "But I feel that if I take action, I will probably be beaten to death." "So dangerous?" Lester was a little nervous. "With your monster-like ability, you actually feel so dangerous? Tell me what this person looks like, and I'll see if I can find some information here. In this world, as long as you are strong, you cannot remain unknown." Luogu smiled, Okay, I'm just talking casually, it's nothing more than an idle guy I met in Demon Valley Town. It's no big deal, you don't have to worry so much. After all, no matter how strong a guy is without a bounty, there's no way I'm going to fight him." Hey, hearing you say that, it's even more dangerous." Lester felt his whole body numb and gasped, "You are such a dangerous guy, and you think he is a pirate, but there is no reward. Although you say it doesn't seem like anything, but how can I listen and feel it seems like there is some major conspiracy? No, you must tell this person's situation in detail, and I must investigate it carefully. If not, this will be the capital for my promotion." "Speaking of promotion, have you been promoted yet?" Luogu suddenly led the topic to another direction. "Promoted one level, now a lieutenant colonel." After Lester answered casually, he asked anxiously, "Stupid brother. Don't talk nonsense, tell me about that person quickly. What's worth saying?" Luogu sighed helplessly, "Forget it, I'm afraid of you. It's just that I met a person in Demon Valley Town and talked to you casually, but you still care about it. What do you know? There are so many scary guys in this world, who knows which one seems to be pure and innocent, but secretly prepares to make troubles? If you are not careful, big things may happen. If something serious happens, what can you, a small lieutenant colonel, do?" "What?" Lester was really anxious. "Stupid Luogu. Are you underestimating my connections in the Navy? Let me tell you, from Marshal Sengoku to Marineford, there is not a single soldier that I don't clean up. Do you know me well? If I were willing and I really wanted to investigate a person, I could tell you exactly what he ate last night, what time he went to bed at night, and what time he got up to go to the toilet. How dare you? Are you looking down on me? You are ruthless." The corner of Luogu's mouth twitched, because the phone bug could imitate the expression of the caller, but Luogu didn't show any other emotions, but simply talked about Blackbeard's appearance. Then he mentioned, "I don't know why a guy of this strength appears in the Grand Line. Doesn't it mean that the first half of the Grand Line can only be regarded as a stage for newcomers to debut? The New World is where pirates are really active. It makes sense. I'll investigate the situation from the New World." Lester hung up the phone hastily after finishing speaking. Luogu grinned and turned to look out the window. In this way, even if it ignites an insignificant flame on the Navy's side, right? However, whether this flame can finally burn depends on what happens next. How should I add firewood to it? He muttered to himself, but suddenly frowned. The big boat under his feet suddenly became erratic. There are no dark clouds in the sky above, nor is there a strong wind. Where did this sudden bump come from? With a sudden movement in his heart, he stood up and walked out of the cabin door. Suddenly, a strange wind began to swirl on the originally calm sea. On the turbulent sea, it seemed that something was spreading upward from under the sea. "Captain!" Mishita and Dashki came to Luogu from both sides. "What happened?" Luogu smiled and said, "Probably, someone wants to fly." "Fly?" Dusky and Mishita looked at each other in confusion. How to fly? Mikita, go up and have a look. Is there any subtle change in the surrounding sea water? Luogu ordered. Mishita nodded immediately and flew into the air with the telescope. While looking at it, she muttered, "Nothing has changed. Why suddenly, what is that?" When she said the second half, she was not only dumbfounded and speechless, her eyes almost dropped to the ground. The sea water is flying. What direction? Luogu stood in front of the rudder. Ah, Mishita glanced at Luogu, and after she came to her senses, she quickly said, "Turn left 45 degrees, the direction cannot be determined." "Wait, Captain, there is a ship over there. If not, we won't go." Roga grinned, turned the rudder, and the boat turned around immediately. As soon as he turned around, he saw a column of water rising slowly on the horizon. The speed didn't seem fast, but in the blink of an eye, it was already in the air. With the speed of the wind, the boat couldn't catch up with the water column, but even though it was far away, a violent roar could be heard. The rising water column is majestic, huge, and vast, and the strong wind is turbulent around it endlessly, but it is unknown what kind of mighty force is used as the traction. In the blink of an eye, it has been linked to the sky. What exactly is this? Dashki next to Luogu was dumbfounded, with cold sweat all over his face, and his hands and feet couldn't help but tremble. Compared with the great power of heaven and earth, manpower is sometimes poor. Facing such a terrifying power, it is only natural that there is awe in my heart. Luogu didn't answer Daisaki's question. He steered the big ship and took advantage of the strong wind to move forward. On both sides of the ship's side, the waves hit and the tide surged. The big ship was swaying between the crazy waves, but it was firm. However, after all, he couldn't catch up, and Luogu didn't plan to really catch up with this train to Sky Island. Just after getting closer, I saw a sailboat soaring into the sky with the help of the current. That's a pirate ship. Mishita fell from mid-air. Besides, they seemed to have seen us. A woman waved desperately to our ship. Oh, after Luogu heard this, he didn't express much. He just watched the ship rushing up to the sky in a blink of an eye, rising with the help of the water column, and flying with the help of the whirlwind. All kinds of incredible things made people feel excited. At the same time, on the other side, several people on a log also attracted Luogu's attention. Smiling slightly, after seeing God, it's time to get down to business. Pirate's Bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 122. Coming here to watch Luffy and others go to the empty island through the rising water column is just an insignificant part. Because he remembered that when Luffy went to Sky Island, Blackbeard tried to lead people to chase Luffy, because Luffy's bounty was million. He wants to exchange for the power of Chi-Wuhei by capturing Luffy's achievements. Then, it is imperative to have a second contact with Blackbeard here. And while Luogu was looking at Blackbeard and the others on the log, Blackbeard and his group also looked at Luogu. The current situation is that the sea is raging with strong winds, and the water spray driven by the rising water column falls like a torrential rain. The four of them, together with a horse, huddled on a log at the same time, drifting and rising with the waves. Not far away came a big ship with the words "Pirate Hunter" written on the sail. Looking at it like this, the eyes of the four people and even a horse lit up. Blackbeard saw Luogu standing on the side of the boat at a glance. Disguise can be deceiving, but the moment they crossed each other in Magic Valley Town before, the feeling they gave each other was absolutely unmistakable. It turns out that he is the pirate hunter, Noro's Rogu. A place like the East China Sea really likes to come out with some scary guys. After Blackbeard finished speaking, he laughed. Pirate hunter? An unpleasant name. A man next to him, wearing a coat and hat, and holding an apple in his hand, said coldly. Take their boat. The tall and thin man standing at the edge was holding a gun with a long barrel. Just let the so-called pirate hunter disappear here. Thief, ha 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 ha. Blackbeard laughed. It seems very interesting. And at this moment, it is not known whether it was rolled up from the water or fell from the sky. A broken bough rolled down from the sky. Several people looked up together, and then the man with the spear in his hand shook his head. It seems impossible. Because the direction in which the bow fell was the big ship of pirate hunter. The huge bow of the ship fell from mid-air, with terrifying force and coverage. It only took a moment for the big ship of the pirate hunter to be directly shattered into pieces and drift to the bottom of the sea. If you don't see the end, who knows what will happen? Blackbeard sat cross-legged on the log and let out a thief ha 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 laugh, as if looking forward to what would happen next. The other three people brought a horse together, and when they heard what he said, their eyes immediately became more serious. Sure enough, in the next second, a sword light rushed out. In just a moment, the bow of the ship that was covering the falling ship in mid-air was turned into powder. Before it could fall, it was swept away by the strong wind in the air. Several people looked at me, I looked at you, and finally the man with the gun said, "What should we do now? Stealing a boat?" Although they may not be afraid of a powerful opponent like Luogu, at this stage, is it necessary for them to antagonize such a person? Of course we went back. Blackbeard looked up at the sky. They have not disappeared from this world, and we will meet again in the future. Our opponents will always meet in the future, as long as we still gallop on the sea with our current identities. There will be endless excitement waiting for us in the future. Ha 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 ha. He grinned. Wanton extraordinary. Several people nodded after hearing this, but just as they were about to leave, the man with the spear spoke again. They seem to be coming. Okay. Blackbeard immediately stood up from the log. The rest of the people also followed suit. They didn't want to provoke, but it didn't mean they were afraid, they just didn't want to make trouble at this juncture. But if the opponent came to the door, how could they be afraid of a battle? The big ship passed through the wind and rain, and in a blink of an eye, it was in front of them. Luogu stood on the big boat, grinning brightly. Hey, everyone, do you need help? Blackbeard and the others looked at each other. Did they meet a kind person? Ha 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 ha, Blackbeard laughed loudly. Thank you very much. It's nothing. You rely on your parents at home and your friends when you go out. Luogu half crouched on the side of the ship and said with a smile, but I still want to ask, by the way, are you all pirates? He looked at Blackbeard with bright eyes. Blackbeard's eyes sparkled as he stared at Luogu. The two sides looked at each other for about 3 seconds, but neither of them spoke. The complexions of Dashiki and Makita have changed. Besides Blackbeard, the other people on the opposite side are also ready to fight. But suddenly he heard Luogu laughing loudly. You're just kidding. Thief, ha 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 ha, you bastard, you are very interesting. Blackbeard also laughed. Then I saw Luogu waved his hand and threw a rope, which landed right in front of the horse. Caught! Luogu shouted, and the man standing in front of the horse grabbed the rope and heard Luogu say, "Come here." Immediately after Luogu pulled hard, the next second, the man pulled the rope and flew towards Luogu. Let's go. Blackbeard spoke, and several people were about to jump. After all, at such a distance, with their jumping power, they didn't need a rope to get on the boat. However, at the moment when several people were about to take off, they felt that the sword wind pierced through the air. Even under the howling wind, it was difficult to hide the sharpness of the sword. The three of them were caught off guard and had only time to resist. However, they had no choice but to be pushed back onto the log again. The person who was dragged by Luogu had also arrived on Luogu's boat at this time, but when he saw the boat, it had drifted back a long way. It's hit. The three of them woke up as if from a dream. Blackbeard's eyes bulged. He turned out to be a liar. A burly man next to him sneered, but he arrested the wrong person. Why, is there no movement? The man holding the gun had extremely strong eyesight, but due to the height difference, he could not see the situation on Luogu's ship. Blackbeard's whole body seemed to be burning with nameless darkness, and he was filled with rage. If there is no movement, it means you have been subdued. How dare you play tricks on me? With a roar, the whole person suddenly jumped up from the log, holding darkness in his hands, roaring Noros Rogu. Luogu retracted the iron rod at this time, turned to look at the Blackbeard who was leaping towards him. Grinning, how scary. The moment the voice fell, the iron rod in his hand was replaced by a black pill. The blade was unsheathed, and a crescent moon seemed to be floating on the sea. Lenjiu Yishi. The blade pierced through the air, and in an instant, it was in front of Blackbeard. Hateful. The darkness of ignorance in Blackbeard's hand suddenly fell, and Luogu's sword light was almost shattered with one blow. But in an instant, the two collided and erupted with a violent explosion. Boom! Beside the rising water column, powerful waves impacted the sea surface. For a moment, the gust of wind stagnated for a moment, and the waves spread around the center of the sea for a long time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 123. Turn over and Fall. Blackbeard stood on the log again, his right arm trembling slightly, and strands of blood fell down his fingertips. The other two people on the log suddenly had solemn expressions. The two sides exchanged blows, and Blackbeard was injured. Although he had never thought that Blackbeard was invincible at this stage, at least he should never meet a man who could match him on such an occasion. Here, it's just a great route. Without saying a word, the man with the spear raised his gun and aimed at Luogu's boat. However, as soon as he lifted it, his pupils constricted. No way. The big man next to him was dumbfounded. As far as he could see the sky pouring air blade plowing towards the sea. The surface of the water was cut in all directions. Where the air blade passed, the waves surged, like the doomsday overturning. Blackbeard bared his teeth and cracked his mouth, and smiled particularly ferociously, ha 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 ha. On the hands, the nameless darkness condensed and rolled, setting off a turbulent wave behind him. With a sudden push of both hands, the black waves rolled on the sea, mighty, almost endless, like a doomsday disaster. The originally gloomy sky suddenly became darker. It seems faintly that there is thunder condensed in the darkness, but it is still not triggered. Boom boom boom. Successive explosions suddenly resounded over the sea, and the huge power formed by the collision of the darkness and the air blade swept through the frenzy and spread in all directions. Luogu only felt that the big boat under his feet was swaying for a while under the impact, but it rushed away at a speed like an arrow off the string, and gradually drifted away from Blackbeard. In the distance, Blackbeard's log stood firm amidst the rolling waves. However, through the misty sea water, it can already be seen that it is impossible to catch up with Luogu's boat. Thief, ha 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 ha. Blackbeard's angry laughter echoed over the sea. Noros Rogu. I will not let you go. No matter where you go, as long as you are still on this sea, I will chase you. Go ahead and make you pay the price. Among the tumbling waves, there were not only Luogu and Blackbeard. Another group of people were soaking in the sea water. After watching the whole jaw-dropping scene just now, I also looked at each other in blank dismay for a moment, feeling chills all over my body. Noros Rogu? That rumored pirate hunter. It's the person that the little girl specifically inquired about. Didn't you expect him to be such a terrifying guy? After a group of people made a fuss, they fell silent again. After Luogu sailed away and Blackbeard disappeared in the sea, the group of people turned around and swam back. On the big ship, the wind and the sea are calm. Snatching a person from Blackbeard's side abruptly, to be honest, This feeling is really exciting. Of course, it is also fully prepared for this. Not only the Halashi parts are prepared to prevent the possibility of the opponent being a capable person, but also Makita, a natural jack, exerts heavy pressure on the opponent the moment it falls. In addition, when Luogu was dragging people, he used a special power control technique, and shot directly at the moment the opponent landed on his boat. Multiple aspects are applied together. As long as the opponent has a slight negligence, they will be taken down on the spot. The results were similar to what they expected. The moment the other party boarded the boat, Luogu kicked him to the ground before he could use any means. Makita fell from mid-air and directly pressed the opponent down. However, the opponent's strength also exceeded Mishita's imagination. She was proud of the weight, and she thought that after pressing down, the opponent would never be able to get up. But he didn't expect that after just suppressing him for a moment, the other party had already broken free. But at this moment, Luogu's iron rod fell from the sky. One stick has already controlled the whole scene. Luogu had planned the whole process before it even started, and after it started, it was over in just 2 or 3 seconds. But after just 2 or 3 seconds, Blackbeard had already killed him. Dashki was originally surprised that she was not allowed to take control of the matter, but was actually asked to take charge of driving the boat to escape the moment she received the signal. This is very inconsistent with Luogu's character setting. Normally speaking, Luogu is generally straightforward and reckless. It wasn't until Blackbeard came down from the sky like a demon god with black flames that she knew why Luogu did this at that moment. The instant burst was still not enough. The moment he temporarily forced Blackbeard back, Luogu used the Mad Moon 131 style. The wind and clouds on the sea surface violently exploded, pushing the big ship into the air, so as to get away from it. At this moment, although everything was calm, recalling the scenes that just happened makes people feel frightened. Dashki glanced at Luogu sitting under the sun umbrella, and couldn't help but ask, "That person just now, who is he?" Luogu shook his head, then frowned, and looked to his right hand. From the wrist up, there is a dark scar. It's hard to see what kind of attack it was caused by, as if it was shriveled and absorbed all the nutrients, and it seemed to be licked by the tongue of fire, forming a black flame-like pattern as a whole. "How exactly did you do it?" He moved his arm and it hurt. But with the passage of time, this pain is gradually easing, but with little effect. At this point, he regretted that he didn't take Chopper away secretly when he passed by the magnetic drum kingdom. If he was there, it should be of some help, right? "Is this," Dashki looked at Luogu's arm and his face changed slightly, "is it the fight just now?" "That can't be called a fight, it can only be called a defense." Luogu smiled and said, "I'm careless. I should have fired my weapons just now, but I couldn't imagine how he could still cause harm to me at such a long distance. Could it be through my sword energy?" He muttered to himself, and at the same time felt that he was indeed taking it lightly in the face of Blackbeard. The ability of the other party's devil fruit is not a flame in the first place. Although the shape is similar, it is different in essence. So, why can you judge the opponent's attack, and can't rely on your own sword energy to feed back to yourself? Although, exchanging moves with each other, I don't think he will be too comfortable. It's just that this time I did the mental calculation without intention, but the other party suddenly launched an attack without preparation. If you compare it seriously, I seem to it was a loss. Speaking of this, Luogu couldn't help but grinned and laughed. Dashki and Mishita were stunned. The captain, lost. Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 124. What's your expression? Luogu gave the two people a funny look. For the time being, it's just a little inferior. Such a gap is not impossible to make up. Moreover, I am a bitch. If you think about it carefully, if you met Blackbeard directly when you first went to sea, You probably wouldn't even have a chance to talk to each other. Will be killed directly and neatly in an instant. But now, after trying all the tricks, I am only slightly inferior, and I came to the conclusion only after calculating the words. Is there anything to be frustrated about? After all, if there is a real fight, it is still unknown what the outcome will be between each other. Combat is not something that can be concluded by comparing combat power in the game. It's not that your combat power is 100 stronger than mine, so I can't beat you. With the rapid changes, the competition is far more than just fighting power. Dashki and Mishita also nodded immediately, especially Dashki. She clenched her fists. I was too naive. I didn't expect that I would meet such a powerful person in the sea. I will definitely do it. I will work harder and implement my swordsmanship, and when I draw my sword next time, I will never hesitate at all. Mikita pursed her lips, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't say a word. Okay. Luogu clapped his hands and said, for the time being, the crisis is over. But we can't take it lightly. According to my judgment, this guy will probably catch up. Although it is difficult to tangle with a pirate hunter like me, it is not he wanted to, but he couldn't help it. Who asked us to capture his people? So, the next exciting moment of the Great Escape begins. How exciting is this? Mishita feels that there should be comments here. In short, although we are on the way to escape, let's do whatever we have to do. I will go to the sea later to see if there are any Neptune species. I feel like I haven't eaten fresh Neptune species for 100 years. Luogu stood up and lifted up the man who was bound by chains on the ground. According to the 4-line display, the name of this guy is Poison Q. To be honest, catching him was not just about luring Blackbeard. He looked around just now, and among Blackbeard and his party, this guy had the highest bounty so far. Worth a full million belly. After filling this income, plus the previous income in Magic Valley Town, Luogu's small coffers were supplemented again. Although there is still a long way to go before a number like billions and billions, it is enough to satisfy Luogu. After throwing him to the lower prison, when he came out again, he saw Psyche wearing an apron cleaning the kitchen. A broom makes her swing like a sword, and she can control the dust well, which shows that she has already started this way. Luogu nodded with satisfaction and asked, "Where's Mishita?" Dashki put down the broom. I didn't see what Captain Mishita said. Speaking of which, I always feel that she seems to have something on her mind. Are you worried? Luogu thought thoughtfully, and then smiled. I know, if a crew member is worried, as the captain, he must shoulder his responsibilities. I will go find her and see what happened to her. Is it an accident? When you meet someone you like, why don't you feel embarrassed to speak? Is this a girl's trouble? Dashki put her hand on her chin and said thoughtfully, but, I have been with her all the time, and I have never found that she has been in contact with other men. The town of Magic Valley is full of a thief, or something even more distant before, when she was an agent of Baroque Works, or a lover far away in her hometown. When she said this woman who was obsessed with swords had a light in her eyes that Luogu had never seen before. It's really an exciting story. What's so exciting about this? Luogu was a little speechless for a while. It seemed that no matter what kind of woman she was, her heart of gossip would never be erased. At that moment, he said earnestly, Dashki, you must remember that you are obsessed with swords, not obsessed with gossip. Your sword will be blunt. Dashki suddenly became excited and said, I am too complacent. No, you are too nervous. Can't you see that I am joking with you? Cannot tell. Luogu wiped the non-existent sweat on his forehead and said helplessly, you continue working, I'll go take a look. I walked out of the kitchen and walked around on the deck, but I didn't see Mishita. When I looked up again, I saw Mishita on the observation deck, looking around with a telescope. How is the situation, Luogu asked. Everything is normal. Mishita replied, I'll come down right away. No, wait for me up there. After Luogu finished speaking, he climbed up to the watchtower in 2 or 3 steps. The space was a little narrow. In order not to embarrass both of them, Luogu simply didn't go in, but sat on the fence of the watchtower. With his back to Mikita, watching the magnificent sea from this perspective. Mishita stood inside, looking at the captain's back, and then fell silent. Luogu sat like this for 3 minutes, making Mishita sit uneasily. What's happening here? Why did the captain come up? I didn't get any instructions when I came up, so why are you sitting here looking at the scenery? Am I in the way? How about I go down and let the captain in? She was thinking so wildly in her heart. Luogu was also quite mad, even though she made a vow with Daisuke. They say that if a crew member has something to worry about, it is the captain's responsibility. When Nai came to the front, he found that he was really good at communicating with the soul, and he hadn't made any achievements in psychotherapy. It came up simply, but I didn't even think about how to say the opening remarks. After sitting here for 3 minutes, Luogu didn't know how to mention keywords such as what was on his mind. You can't just ask directly if you miss your lover back home. Why not? Luogu thought about it. What if this is really the case? If you go straight to the point yourself, you might get better results. Luogu nodded and was about to speak when he heard Mishita say, Captain, am I useless? Luogu's inertia of nodding was still there, but after he finished nodding, he felt something was wrong. What? Looking back at Mishita, she found that Mishita was indeed a little disappointed. She said with a sad expression, sure enough, the captain thinks so too. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 125. Luogu is a little confused. What's going on? As a woman with a superficial smile, you are so lost all of a sudden, which is very inconsistent with your personality. Do you know that? Luogu looked at Mishita in confusion. Although you are indeed quite useless, why are you so conscious all of a sudden? Mikita was speechless for a moment. Originally I didn't want to say this, and after saying it, I didn't expect Luogu to comfort me or anything, but is it really appropriate to say so bluntly that I am useless? Please consider the fragile little hearts of others, okay? Mikita looked at Luogu with aggrieved eyes, looking like she was about to cry. Luogu was heartless and thought it was a bit funny. He turned around and moved the 2 legs dangling in the air to the observation deck. I think you are stimulated. Tell me about it. Dashki even saw it. If you have something on your mind, don't hide it. I just suddenly feel like I can't be of much help here. Mishita took a deep breath. Although the captain was a bastard, there seemed to be no place to talk about some things. Looking at the vast sea, she took a deep breath and then said, Captain, do you remember that day with you and me? Did you say that? I have a lot to say to you. Which one? You said, if I don't work hard, I won't be able to use it as fitness equipment. Mishita said, it's so outrageous. How could you forget it so easily? Oh, remember, Luogu nodded, so because I'm unhappy, the reflex arc is a bit long. How long has it been? Now let's settle the score. How dare I settle the score with you? Mishita shook her head. I just suddenly felt that this sentence really makes sense. At that time, we had not faced Crocodile. In fact, even if we did, when I met Crocodile, I couldn't do anything to help. I relied entirely on your strength to defeat Crocodile. However, I felt at ease at that time. Anyway, the days ahead are still long. I can still work hard. You said that the future will be very dangerous. I think I can also grow slowly. After all, even if it is a fitness equipment, even if it is a cook, a maid, etc., at least the captain has it. It's my place. Luogu crossed his arms thoughtfully and glanced at Mishita, continue talking. But, when you fought with that person just now, I realized that it turned out that there was no time to grow up at all. It was too fast. In the blink of an eye, Crocodile turned into an existence of that level. And in the future, on the sea, we will encounter more and more terrifying opponents. When facing them, if I am still like this, I am afraid that I will really lose the meaning of staying on this ship. Mishita looked at Rogu. Captain, your strength is also improving. Although I didn't know where your limit was from the beginning. But the scene just now was something that I had never experienced before when facing Crocodile. With you like this, I'm afraid I won't even be able to use fitness equipment soon. Is this the reason for the loss? Luogu let out a sigh of relief, looked up at the sky, considered his words, and prepared to speak. But then I heard Mishita say, besides, Daisuke is very strong. After possessing the power of the devil fruit, her strength will definitely improve rapidly. In comparison, I only have one ability. Will lose the value of its existence. Lose the value of existence. Luogu touched his chin, thought about it carefully, and then said to Mishita, you are right. Mishita really wants to cry, why should she follow this captain? Wait, it was involuntary in the beginning, right? Sure enough, if I had to choose, I would never choose a guy who is so incompetent. But you're right on the premise that you'll never improve. Luogu smiled slightly. In this world, there are people working hard every minute and every second. What you can see are powerful opponents, powerful power, and overwhelming terror. But you don't know that in order to have these powers, how much did you pay? Mishita was stunned when she heard this, and then asked, Captain, what about you, how much have you paid? As a wall hanger, it's very difficult for me to ask questions like yours. Luogu smiled, but before I went to sea, I practiced my sword in the sea day and night. I split the waves, chopped up the rocks, split the sea into two, and cut off the sunset. Even after I went to sea, I have never slacked off. Besides, you still remember why you can always stay with me alive. Because you lack a piece of exercise equipment. It's the most suitable, isn't it? Luogu said with a smile. In order to become stronger, don't I always go into the water to look for sea kings? Eating their meat can enhance the effect of daily exercise. Although I don't deny it, it is indeed good. Eat, but no matter how delicious the food is, if you eat it every day, it will be tasteless and even make you want to vomit. However, I have never complained, right? In the final analysis, it is actually that sentence, people want to exert themselves no matter how much you pay, how much effort you have to make. Although Luogu believes that the existence of Golden Finger is definitely the biggest boost to his growth. But he will not deny his efforts because of this. From the very beginning, he knew one thing, the Golden Finger can help improve his swordsmanship and upgrade his skills. However, how much power can be exerted depends on oneself. Just like the skill of Julie, it mobilizes all the strength of the whole body to focus on one point. In the final analysis, the power contained in oneself is fundamental. The total number of all the forces mobilized can be 100 or 1,000, but it can also be 1. Even if a person with a weak body has a 5th-level giant force, the power he can display can at best defeat an ordinary person, or maybe even fail. Because of this, Luogu has never slackened his practice. So, what the captain means is, should I work hard, Mishita said, but it's not that I don't work hard. I work hard every moment, every minute, and every second, and I think about my own future. There is still room for development of my abilities, but I really can't think of it, and I really can't do it. Then work hard. Luogu couldn't help laughing. In this world, there are no useless devil fruit abilities, only useless people. Your light and fluttering fruit actually has huge potential, and for now, the most important thing is yes, First break through the current weight limit. 1 to 10,000 is the limit. Why don't I believe it so much? Work hard and break through 10,001 first, and then there will be a bright road. He reached out and patted Mishita on the head. In my hometown, there is a saying that I like very much. I will give it to you now. If you don't accumulate small steps, you can't reach 1,000 miles. If you don't accumulate small streams, you can't become a river. Mishita was so angry that Luogu was so angry that her eyes were filled with emotion, and she said, "What do you mean?" from the bottom of her heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 126. Facing Mishita's serious inquiry, Luogu had no choice but to explain it seriously. After listening to the explanation of the sentence, Mikita's eyes lighted up a little, and for a while, she actually yearned for Luogu's hometown. To be able to say such wise words, the captain's hometown must be very remarkable. Hometown. Luogu looked into the distance, and then nodded seriously. That is a world that is completely unimaginable in this era. With a touch of homesickness quietly pressing in his heart, Luogu added, however, that being said, the specific situation must be considered in detail. The first is the training method. Well, for now, my condition has improved a bit. Ming, when you train from now on, use all your strength and try to increase your weight. I will use my own strength to fight against it. Comparing the two, I can have the most realistic and direct answer to your situation. Feedback. Mishita nodded. I understand. But it's still not enough. Luogu thought for a moment and said, I think you should also learn some physical skills. Taijutsu. Mikita thought for a moment and nodded, I am willing to learn. Very good, then let's ask Dashki for advice. The Navy should have the most suitable method of training physical skills, Luogu said, and Dashki has received the most orthodox naval training. Although the Navy I may not be able to teach you the secrets, but there should be no problem with simple things. You are a beginner, so it should be enough. If you need to learn more in the future, I will find a way. Only then did Mishita's eyes really shine. Really, Captain, are you willing to help me for my strength? It doesn't matter whether you are willing to help your own crew or not. Your strength has improved and grown, which is the real value to me. Luogu said, there are bonds between people. I thought about you day and night, and I thought I had become friends with you, didn't I? Of course it is. Mikita nodded repeatedly. Since we are friends, of course it goes without saying, Luogu said with a smile. More importantly, our enemies will be very strong in the future. As my friend, partner, or subordinate, you can't ignore anything in the future. I'm the one who's going to take the lead. If one day in the future, I need you to do something, and you are captured by the enemy because of your lack of strength, then I will be passive. Yamashita nodded, I will never let such a thing happen. I believe you, Luogu said with a smile. Well, I will go to the sea first, come back and have lunch, and then we will start practicing. Taking advantage of the time now, you can ask Dashki about physical skills. Matter. Now, Mishita was stunned. But I'm not mentally prepared yet. The enemy won't give you time to prepare, Luogu said with a smile, it's a race against time. When walking against the current, you will retreat if you don't advance. Since you are already lagging behind others, don't hesitate and strive to be the first. That is the right way. When he came out of the water, Luogu didn't find Neptune, but he found a big fish in the deep sea. The overall shape is similar to a carp, but it is surprisingly large. It has hard scales and sharp fins on its body, and its mouth is full of fangs, which shows that this guy is not someone to be trifled with. In fact, this thing in the sea is considered to be extremely powerful. Although it is not as powerful as the Neptune type, it is still extraordinary. After catching it, the scales were removed, the internal organs were processed, the fish bones were removed, and the tender white fish was sent to the kitchen. Mikita has already made preparations, put the fresh fish into the pot, and the delicious fish soup will come out soon. Such a big fish, of course, is not only for making soup, but also for frying, stewing, and stewing. Each of them can show their abilities, and the lunch is quite rich. After having lunch and resting for half an hour to let the food in his stomach digest a little, Lugogu began to drag Dashki to practice. The whole process is just like Lugogu said, this is a confrontation. Previously, she used her full strength to suppress Dukyu, but she didn't expect that Dukyu would break free in just a moment. In terms of strength, she was indeed much inferior. Even though he tried his best to fight Lugogu at this time, Lugogu was still relaxed and at ease. This left a big gap in Mishita's heart, but after thinking about Lugogu's words that you can't reach 1,000 miles without taking small steps, you readjusted your mentality. 2 hours later, Lugogu's training was temporarily stopped, and the continuous use of abilities almost caused Mikita to lose all her physical strength. But at this time, Daisuke came to teach her gymnastics. When your physical strength is close to being exhausted, if you continue to work hard, the strength you grow will become your new strength. However, 1 or 2 days will not make you grow. This requires a long period of accumulation. Dashiki explained seriously. In fact, when she knew that Mikita was not lost because of the girl's love problem, Dashiki was also a little bit disappointed. But now it obviously has a purpose again, so I do my duty. Lugogu relaxed his muscles a little on the side, and couldn't help but picked up an oversized dumbbell next to him and started playing. By the way, he also opened his hunter card and looked through it. Hunter Qualification Certificate. Bearer Norothrago. V6 V5 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 V1. Coin Black Iron Coin 20. Bailey 4061000000 can be withdrawn. In addition, there are 3 more keys to fall, and the 6th cell is already full. Looking at the 3 keys of fall, he glanced at the second room, and finally glanced at Ballet V1, sighing silently. It's a bit like being bitten by a snake for 10 years and being afraid of well ropes. But in general, Mogutown and his party have gained a lot. Not only has Zinuelia broken through to a new level, but the wealth has reached the million mark again. After handing these people over to the Navy, he said maybe you can get another gold coin, but how should you use the second one? Or should you improve your heart and moon flow? He looked at his skill bar, but fell into hesitation. The 5th level is a watershed, but the 6th level needs gold coins. Although it cannot erase the possibility that black iron coins will be completely ineffective for the 6th level, it is clear that gold coins have the highest success rate. But from level to level, should I use gold coins or diamond coins to upgrade? Looking at the level alone, if level 5 is really a limit, there is nothing wrong with using gold coins. But based on the degree of improvement of Zinueliu, he always feels that this 6th level seems to be a very subtle existence. Can a single gold coin really improve its level? And once it fails, 1 billion will be wasted directly. Pirate's Bounty. Don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 127. This last point, which is indeed possible, is where Lugogu mainly hesitates. Gold coins are hard to come by, although Magic Valley Town is a good place to farm money. But how many Magic Valley towns are there? And after all, what Mogutown gave Lugogu was still not enough. A large part of what he got this time came from Rocio, Bellamy, and Poison Q. These 3 big pirates gave him nearly million in total income. In other words, even if it is true, there is another Magic Valley town that can be used to make money. But being able to meet the big pirate is still a key. While changing the dumbbell to his hand, when he was lifting it, his arm suddenly hurt. He lowered his head and glanced at the injury on his arm. I don't know when the dark color had gone away. All the skin had disappeared. You could almost see the texture of the muscles. The whole body was red and painful. It always feels like it's being burned by fire. Luogu shook his head, forgot the pain, and continued to lift the dumbbell repeatedly, while thinking about the gold coin and black iron coin. But after thinking about it for a long time, I still couldn't decide. After all, this kind of thing cannot be determined by relying on imagination. Only by getting another gold coin and actually operating it can we get the exact answer. Then there are the black iron coins. Looking at the 20 black iron coins in the hunter certificate, there is the balance from before, and there is also the harvest from Demon Valley Town. I wonder if I collect 100, I can exchange them for one piece of gold. Luogu has already considered this possibility, but it seems that there is no exchange channel. Or maybe you need to collect 100 dark iron coins before you can activate this function. Considering the previous several function activation methods, this possibility is very high. However, due to the increase in skills, the black iron coins are constantly being consumed, and the accumulation of black iron coins is still only 20. It is not as easy as imagined to collect 100. The last thing is the key to the fall. It really doesn't make any sense to put this thing in the hunter certificate. Let's watch the lottery tonight. Only when these things are effectively used can they become their own strength. Otherwise, it would be just an insignificant number in the hunter certificate. When he looked up again, he saw Mishita, who had just stood up, being knocked to the ground again by Dashki. She did not forget to shout, "Come on, Mishita." Mikita wants to cry, this is not a matter of refueling at all. Dashiki didn't mean to be merciless at all. She tried to get Mikita to use the fastest speed to get familiar with the routines of physical arts through repeated hand-to-hand and fighting. As for physical training, devil fruit users are uniquely endowed with this kind of thing. At this stage, Mikita only needs to understand what body art is, and she will be able to look good in a short time. As for what will be achieved in the end, it's hard to say. The master leads the door, and the practice depends on the individual. This is a principle that is universally applicable. Luogu took his eyes away from the two of them, shrugged his shoulders a little bored, put down the dumbbell in his hand, and replaced it with a weight-bearing one. Hold it with one hand to practice the power of swinging the knife. This time he stood up, striving for standard movements, and the body memory he formed could allow him to maintain a stable performance even when he was most flustered. Then he began to ponder the question of Blackbeard in his mind. Today's battle is just a prelude. At the same time, it can also be regarded as a performance. The most important thing is to bury the thread. The grudge between him and Blackbeard cannot be made out of nothing. Then, after capturing one of Blackbeard's men, many things after that will become logical. Furthermore, after fighting against Blackbeard, I have a solid understanding of his abilities, so that Lester can help investigate his devil fruit abilities, so that the Navy can know the existence of dark fruits. Luogu waved the barbell in his hand while thinking, after that, just relying on these will not make a being like Garp notice Blackbeard. In fact, no matter how powerful the ability of the dark fruit is, it may not be able to attracting the attention of these people. The more powerful people are, the more they can understand that a single fruit cannot represent a person's strength and ambition. Compared to the ability of the dark fruit, Blackbeard's ambition is what they should pay attention to. However, there is nothing commendable about the current Blackbeard. The only thing worth mentioning is the betrayal of Whitebeard, but this matter will only make them happy for the Navy. Maybe there will be vigilance, however, how high a bounty can be achieved to put a bounty on Blackbeard, it's not something important, I'm afraid it will be difficult. Let Blackbeard stir up mayhem. Luogu began to consider the possibility of this. If he thought about it carefully, Blackbeard was not completely free of misdeeds in this regard. For example, he was the one who did the Drum Kingdom. However, this matter still did not make him a reward. Is it due to negligence on the part of the Navy or other reasons? An ace. Luogu bared his teeth. This person is already in the game. He is the main person who is chasing Blackbeard, but the question is, how should I use him? How should I use him to make him act according to my ideas? Looking up at the sky, all kinds of thoughts filled his mind. The corners of Luogu's mouth cracked. This is really heartwarming. The whole day was spent in this calm. Mikita was jointly drilled by Dashiki and Luogu, and fell asleep in the food halfway through dinner. This made Luogu feel that this guy might have something in common with a man who doesn't like to wear a shirt. In the end, Dashiki was responsible for cleaning. After Luogu threw Mikita back to her room, he also turned around and returned to his own room. As soon as I sat down and was about to open the trap, I heard the phone bug in the basket making a buzzing sound. Pick it up and switch it on. Rogu. Lester's excited voice rushed into Luogu's ears. You have discovered an incredible person. Who? Luogu asked. It's the one you told me about yesterday, Lester said. I conducted many investigations today and can finally confirm the identity of this guy. So fast. Luogu was really a little surprised. To be honest, Lester, a guy who never had a name in the original book, really surprised Luogu. Not only do you know people like Smoker and Tina, but you also have so many connections in the Navy that you can use. Investigative ability should not be underestimated. Luogu changed his sitting position, and then heard Lester say, of course, you don't want to see who I am. Let's get down to business. Let me tell you, you must never provoke this guy. This guy, he just betrayed Whitebeard, a big pirate from the New World. Although there is no bounty on the Navy and there is very little information, it can be seen from the information that he is very dangerous. Luogu looked at his arm, smiled and said, I know. Pirates' bounty don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 128. You know how you can know. Lester's mouth was like a machine gun. Even the Navy has no idea how scary this guy is. They have only found out a little bit through a lot of methods. How did you know this? Wait a minute. Yes. If you want to know someone, you need to get in touch. Blackbeard is scary, Luogu knows. This means that the two people have been in contact. Is there any other way for a pirate hunter to come into contact with a pirate? Lester swallowed and laughed dryly. Don't be kidding me. I'm telling you, I'm timid. If you dare to scare me, I'll go to the New World and kick your ass. What are you bragging about? Luogu rolled his eyes. Then tell me, what's your situation now? Are you missing any arms or legs? Lester said, the old village chief told me to take care of you. Although you are a stupid and arrogant brother. The topic is provocative. Are you trying to force me to hang up the phone? Luogu didn't like this way of speaking. He rubbed his nose and said, it's not a big deal. I caught him alone and used a right move to leave some injuries. A little bit. Lester breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, and then laughed loudly. You guys, you finally met a master, right? A little injury, it's just a beating to the point of being pissed off. Don't worry, just tell me, I won't laugh at you, ha 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 ha. It's not convincing at all. Luogu was a little speechless, and then coughed. Do you want to know what this guy is capable of? What ability, etc., devil fruit? Lester was stunned for a moment, and then said, according to my information, this guy does not have the ability of the devil fruit. After leaving Whitebeard, he has the ability of the devil fruit. Listen. He said he killed one of Whitebeard's captains. Does his ability have something to do with his sudden betrayal? There was no reason to suddenly attack his companions because of unfair division of the spoils. But according to my information, this guy belongs to the second team. That's right, he is a subordinate of Fire Fist Ace. How could he unfairly share the stolen goods with the captain of the fourth team, Sachi? Luogu was once again stunned by the series of information. How did this guy know so much information through some strange channels? This must be very unnaval. Otherwise, all the secrets of Blackbeard would have been revealed to the world. How could it be hidden from the Navy's intelligence network? Tell me, what is his ability? Lester asked. If his betrayal is related to the ability of this devil fruit, it means that this ability must be extremely terrifying. Otherwise, it will never be enough to make him betray Whitebeard. Only when a person is strong can he do things that he did not dare to do in the past. Lester thinks so. It's like he thinks that if he is strong, he can kick Luogu's ass. But when he first came into contact with Luogu, he absolutely didn't dare to do this. The logic is very simple, but I didn't expect Blackbeard's depth and fortitude. Luogu tried to describe the ability of the dark fruit. I don't know the specifics. It's just very dark, no, or it swallows the light and I can't see clearly. In short, it gives people a very bad feeling. I will investigate it from a dark perspective, but one thing I can confirm is that based on what I have seen, his attack power is actually not very strong, and... Having said this, Luogu paused and pondered for a moment. Just when Lester was almost impatient to wait, Luogu said, "What he ate, I don't know if it is a pure natural devil fruit, at least give it to me. The feeling is very similar. However, there is a very strange problem." "What's the problem?" Lester asked quickly. "He can't seem to elementalize his body." Luogu adjusted his sitting posture, picked up the black tea on the table and took a sip. "After the exchange of moves, although I was injured, he was not intact. The blade gave me the feeling that it must have cut into his body. Rather than the feeling of effortlessness like crocodile. Simply looking at devil fruits, shouldn't all natural type ones have abilities similar to elementalization? But because what he showed is very similar, this makes I can't make an accurate judgment." "Understood." Lester nodded and said, "I will investigate this aspect. Speaking of which, don't you have a devil fruit illustrated book? You should tell me where to buy it." The corner of Luogu's mouth twitched. When he was in Demon Valley Town, he heard that there was a devil fruit illustrated book, but Luogu stayed there for so long, but he never got it. It can only be said that he missed it. "Well, I'll send you a copy later." Lester said, "In this sea, understanding the abilities of various devil fruits can give you unexpected advantages in subsequent battles. However, some things are not recorded in the illustrated book. The emergence of devil fruit is still a huge mystery to this day. The emergence of devil fruit abilities has only just been recorded and spread. However, if some devil fruit abilities are still unknown, then the illustrated book cannot help." "Understood. After all, even if it has appeared, not all abilities have been recorded." Luogu smiled softly. "In short, that's the situation. The next investigation depends on you. So far, I dare not say that Blackbeard's ability is very strong. But his strength is very powerful. I can tell you that absolutely. So, if it is an investigation, you should be as careful as possible. Don't let others follow the clues and end up being erased by the subject of the investigation without knowing it." "How is that possible?" Lester snorted twice and said, "I am a Navy man. If he has the ability, let him come to Marineford to find me. I can talk to him. And when it comes to being careful, you are the one who needs to be careful most. After all, if there was nothing wrong with my ears just now, you must have captured one of his men, right? Now you are not on the sea, being chased and running for your life. It can't be regarded as a mistake." Luogu glanced at the dark night outside the cabin. "I am indeed running for my life now." "Escape?" Lester hesitated for a moment. "I asked you to be a Navy man, but you refused. Now as a pirate hunter, I don't know what position I should take to help you. However, there is a piece of news for you. Helpful. Do I need it? Luogu sneered. If he wants to chase me, he must be able to catch me. If he can catch me, he must also beat me. The biggest problem with this guy now is that he has no bounty, otherwise. The following words were not said, but in fact it was a bit uncertain. After all, if he really takes action, the outcome is still a matter of uncertainty. For this person, Luogu dare not say that he is sure, not even percent. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 129. You will never do anything if you don't have a bounty, right? You have really become a qualified pirate hunter. Lester was a little speechless, and then said, however, I will temporarily forget about your bragging. Now let me tell you a key piece of news. Although you are being chased by Blackbeard, it is true, but Blackbeard is also he is being hunted. However, the person who is chasing him has a special status. From my position, I shouldn't tell you this, but who makes your situation less worrying? Luogu knew who Lester was talking about without thinking about it. Of course it's Ace. He was able to investigate the identity of Blackbeard, so it is not difficult to investigate the fact that Ace is chasing and killing Blackbeard. So, Luogu raised his eyebrows and said, what do you want to say? A friend of a friend may not be an enemy, but an enemy of an enemy may not necessarily be a friend. Lester said, that man is very powerful. He is a big pirate with more than million, and he is also famous in the new era. If you have a way to get in touch with him, with your current status, Blackbeard he may not be your opponent. Makes sense. Luogu clapped his hands. So, who is the person you are talking about? I's the Fire Fist. Lester said, the captain of Whitebeard's second team has the power of the natural devil fruit, the burning fruit, and his strength should not be underestimated. Luogu didn't say anything here. No matter how you look at it, it is still necessary to meditate according to your own identity. Well, I know that this kind of thing may be a bit difficult for you. After all, as a pirate hunter, it is indeed a bit of an obstacle to cooperate with pirates. Lester understood Luogu from the Navy's perspective. But in this situation, you shouldn't worry too much about it. As a pirate hunter, he won't get much help from the Navy. Facing such a scary guy, even if I ask Smoker and the others to help, it probably won't have much effect. So, at this stage, if there is a chance, it is not impossible to use the pirates. Big deal, I owe him a favor. After this matter is over, just spare him once when we meet next time. Luogu touched his chin and said thoughtfully, tell me, how much is Ace's bounty? You can't. Lester felt his head hurt. He had never seen such a bold guy in his life. He was still being chased by Blackbeard, but he was already thinking about Ace's bounty. At that moment, he not only slapped the table twice, erase all dangerous thoughts from your mind. What you should do most now is to find a way to deal with Blackbeard. Apart from that, there is nothing else important. When is it your turn to teach me how to do things? Luogu was surprised. Although it feels like you are becoming more and more rude to me now that we are far away, but to this extent, it still surprises me. You are going to force me to go to Marineford and kick your ass now. If you have the ability, come here. At least you are here. You don't have to worry about Blackbeard tearing you apart. Lester was furious. Luogu was speechless for a moment, then thought for a moment and said, okay, I will consider your proposal. It's good that you can think about it like this. Lester said, in short, be careful. If that doesn't work, come to Marineford. There are many things about Blackbeard that cannot be confirmed, especially the danger to him. There is no way for my information channel to become a navy because most of the testimonies in the office are conjecture. As a pirate hunter, it is difficult for the navy to believe what you said. Therefore, at this stage, without finding new evidence, I can only give such a proposal from you. It's a huge failure as a navy to ask you to find pirates for help. Muttering, Lester hung up the phone. The corner of Lugogu's mouth only evoked a smile at this moment. Things are going to be very troublesome. He tilted his head back and looked at the ceiling above his head. I always feel that I feel sorry for Lester. However, from this moment on, Ace and I are finally involved in a relationship. And such a relationship, will it lead to good things or terrible things? After setting foot on the sea and entering this era of great adventure, where can we find this huge wealth if we don't take risks? It's just worth it. After a long silence, he opened the cave. The 3 keys were on the list, and then Rogu stared at Crocodile's cell. Is it possible to obtain natural devil fruit abilities? Slightly silent, Lugogu chose the second cell, and in the next second, 5 heads appeared in front of him. The light flickered and flowed, finally settling on Beiji Lugo's head. Acquire the skill Silent Step. The information flowed, and the skills were instantly mastered by Lugogu. This is completely different from when Zinuelio reached the 6th level. It's not a spoon. Lugogu curled his lips, but after carefully evaluating the Silent Step skill, he felt that this skill might be more suitable for him than a spoon. Although the high-speed assassination footwork conflicts to a certain extent with Zinuelio's face-to-face fighting style, it can make his own fighting style have more possibilities. All in all, talk is better than nothing. 1 key was consumed, Lugogu sighed and chose again. The light flows and finally settles the color palette Marianne. Get the skill drawing. Lugogu was silent, and after a moment of silence, an extra moment of information appeared in his head. After the information was collected, Lugogu lowered his head. Painting, simple painting. Without any other ability, he cannot use the function of painting to perform suggestive hypnosis. Sure enough, this is another extremely simple life skill, not even a life skill. Lugogu suddenly despaired of this thing between falls. This is definitely not the paradise in Goldfinger. Now he is more suspicious that the first time he drew it, he was able to pull it to pieces. Is it because this Krypton Goldfinger just wanted to give himself a little sweetness? Otherwise, how to explain what is happening now? If things go on like this, even if Crocodile is chosen, he is worried that he will really get a crocodile raising skill. Uncle. After Lugogu cursed, he chose the 3rd draw. The light flowed and finally fell on Feng Clay's head. Get skill imitation. Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 130. Silent Step V1, Painting V1, Imitation V1. Of the 3 skills, except for painting, the other 2 are considered useful. Forget about the Silent Step. Apart from diversifying Lugogu's fighting style, it doesn't have much or too significant improvement. But imitation is different. Although this is not a combat skill, in a sense, it is definitely a magical skill. Moreover, this skill is not Feng Clay's original Devil Fruit skill. Strictly speaking, it is a mutant skill. This is not the first case. The quick slashing skill previously obtained from Dazbonis is also different from the original one. The difference this time, Lugogu thought it should be considered good. He erased one of the most important drawbacks. If you want to imitate someone, you must see and touch that person. Among Lugogu's skills, this limitation was erased. He can imitate anyone in memory unconditionally. But not without cost. This kind of imitation is time sensitive. It must be lifted once within 3 hours, and the lifting time is 5 minutes. It can be released voluntarily, and after 5 minutes, it can be imitated again. If there is no active release within 3 hours, a random release will be performed at any time after 3 hours. Moreover, during this process, even if one voluntary release is performed, the random release process will not be interrupted. This disadvantage is not unacceptable. Luo Gu pondered in his heart, and then after carefully feeling it, he found that there were some changes in other aspects of this skill. For example, in the transformation state, it should be completely unable to exert its own strength. But when he uses this skill, it only weakens his strength to a certain extent. The conditions for touching the face with the left and right hands and activating or cancelling the skills have been erased. Luo Gu's skills can be activated only by moving his mind. Perhaps it is precisely because of this that his random removal skills have become so sudden. All in all, from a certain perspective, this skill is definitely a magical skill for Luo Gu. Especially under the current circumstances. It seems that I have to find a way to make the pirate hunter's banner disappear in the sea for a while. A smile appeared on the corner of Luo Gu's mouth, and then he used the black iron coin to upgrade the skill to V5. There are two main things that have changed. The random release once every 3 hours has become once every 5 hours. The time changed from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. At the same time, the aspect of suppressing his own strength has weakened, but not much, and it is enough to satisfy Luo Gu. Then Luo Gu upgraded the silent step to V5. After accepting the concepts and theories, he nodded with satisfaction, and looked at the painting skills, falling into silence. Logically speaking, this skill and that ballet skill will definitely be sealed forever. But at this time, looking at it, Luo Gu suddenly fell into a subtle thought. Is it possible that some possibilities can be created through this? He closed his eyes and fell into deep thought, his fingers unconsciously scratching gently on the table. Finally he opened his eyes and raised the painting to V5. Although skills are generally considered waste, at least in terms of fighting, it is meaningless, but the consumption of black iron coins is not less than 1. Heartbroken. The 3 skills cost Luo Gu a total of 12 black iron coins. When can he save up to for this thing? Look at the basic attributes on the Hunter Qualification Certificate. Hunter Qualification Certificate. Bearer Norothrago. V6 V5 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 V1 V5 V5 V5. Coin black iron coin 8. Bailey 4061000000 can be withdrawn. If you look carefully, including ballet, you already have 9 skills. If you gather 10 of them, can you summon a dragon? Or 10 villains who know these skills can jump around. Closing the page casually, Luo Gu closed his eyes. Putting all his reveries behind him, and sorting out all the information he had collected so far, he opened his eyes and returned to bed, sleeping. When it dawned, it was still a peaceful day. Moreover, the following period of time was so peaceful. After half a month like this, the next island arrived. Not all the islands on the Great Route are populated by people. Not necessarily certain countries and the like, there are many undeveloped islands, and there are many strange creatures on the islands, some are fierce and huge, and of course there are weak but cunning ones. All in all, on this island, Luo Gu and the others replenished the food on board, and then set off again. I met a few waves of pirates on the road, and these pirates rushed up excitedly to take the Luo Gu sacrificial flag. As a result, after seeing the pirate hunter on the sail, they all turned the bow of the ship without saying a word, and Sayazi disappeared on the horizon. This made Luo Gu somewhat confused. Are the characters of these pirates still good? Seeing his arrogant pirate flag, he turned around and ran away. We promised to swarm together and become our own little money together. Can you still have fun? But thinking about it carefully, it seems that they can't be blamed for these things. They are all small pirates worth 10 or 20 million, and the news of the pirate hunter flag has spread like wildfire on this great sea route. The story of the most powerful pirate hunter in the East China Sea in the past 20 years has long been spread everywhere by people who don't know it and in unknown ways. It is said that he not only hid in the town of Magic Valley, but also quietly captured some big pirates. What's more, he was even able to have a fight like a natural disaster with a powerful existence in the New World. All in all, the strength is unfathomable. Although the news of fighting against the great pirate of the New World is not worthy of belief, Rocio of Demon Valley Town, the great pirate of Million, and Bellamy, the great pirate of Million, there really isn't any power in his hands. Therefore, it is normal for pirates with a lower price to choose to retreat when they see this flag. However, this made Luogu very lonely. Blackbeard promised to chase him, but he stopped chasing him. The pirates I met promised to bully the pirate hunters who didn't know how to live or die, but they didn't bully them anymore. This flag seems to have become so big that it is enough to make many little pirates run away. This made Luogu, who had thought that there would be a bloody storm after entering the Grand Line, become a little disappointed. Fortunately, just when he was lost, the next island appeared. And on this island, there are obviously towns. Because when it was just approaching, the flag of the Navy was spotted by Makita through the telescope.